you. So I would now like to introduce Baroness Vere, Minister for Roads, Buses and Places, to make her address. And in doing so, we thank her for her commitment to road safety and her passion for casualty reduction. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Susie, and my apologies for nearly giving you a heart attack there. Wondering, is the minister here? Yes, she's here. She's here. Don't worry, it's all fine. But thank you for inviting me this morning. And I see my noble friend, I'll call him today, Lord Whitty, is with us as well. And it's a real pleasure to be here with so many people who share my interest and passion for improving road safety. And I'd also like to thank Aegis Insurance for its continued and much appreciated support of the Foundation's work. So last year, we celebrated 2 decades of crash risk mapping in this country, and that's incredible. And I want to congratulate everyone at the Foundation who's contributed to its development over the past 21 years. It's a vital programme and it has saved countless lives and certainly improved our understanding of road safety across the UK's road network. And I think also it's important to recognise it's had a global impact, as over 100 countries have adopted this proactive approach to road risk management, and it's so important. I mean, here at the Department of Transport, we've been using risk mapping data since 2016, and of course, as everyone will know, it underpins the Safer Roads Fund. So road safety is a key priority for me and my department. And it is thanks to the dedication of professionals like you and so many others that we are one of the world leaders in road safety. And yet we are here today, and I think we all recognise that there is always more we can do. Road accidents take the lives of almost 1.5 million people around the world every year, and of course nearly 1,500 at home. And each one of those fatalities is just a heartbreaking tragedy for the families and for the friends of those who are killed. I always like to think of it as it's the same as 10 aircraft crashing in our country every year, so about 1 a month with no survivors. We just wouldn't tolerate that, and neither would we get in a plane anytime soon. So I think we need to make sure that we maintain the focus on road safety and make sure that we reduce the numbers of road deaths and serious injuries as much as we possibly can. I mean, the good thing is I think we are moving away from the outdated thinking, which is very positive, which used to pin the sole blame on the driver. We're moving to a safe systems approach, and of course different people feel that means different things. So we'll be developing our thinking around safe systems and what we feel from a Department for Transport perspective, because we know that we need to build forgiving road infrastructure with safer speeds, which is very much aligned to road design. We need to educate we need to educate all road users, if you ask me, but obviously with a focus as well on those that are at greater risk. We need to make sure that our vehicle standards are good, well, excellent, quite frankly. And of course, there should be a focus on post-crash care. So all of that will mean that although, human error is inevitable, road deaths don't have to be. We want people to walk away, not be carried away. And the key to a safe system is this sharing of responsibility for those who make the policy and those who police it, to those who design the roads and those who drive on them. And so if one of the elements of our approach fails, then the other bits kick in. And this goes obviously well beyond the motorists themselves. We've also got to think about all road users. They must be able to travel safely in the knowledge that there are these layers of safeguards put in place to minimise injury and to maximise their safety. But before I talk about some of the progress that I think we're making, there is the elephant in the room of what happened last year. Well, we know that there were fewer vehicles on the road. 52 billion fewer miles were driven in the first lockdown in March last year. And we did see a corresponding fall in the casualty figures. And we know that inevitably there will probably be a rise in the figures as people return back to their vehicles, or they get out and about more often on bikes or motorcycles or whatever. So we've got to do everything that we can to reduce any rise that might be attributed to this return of the traffic. So let's start with safer roads. particularly improving, I think rural roads are one of our areas that we'll need to focus even more on, because we know that that's where the highest number of fatalities occurred. But also, I'm really pleased that we are now at the sort of end, not in terms of government funding, of the Safer Roads Fund. We did identify the top 50 most dangerous A roads in Britain and had a fund of £100 million. I say had because it's now all gone. We have distributed it to local authorities, which is really, really good. And of course, they are able to use it in all sorts of different ways to improve their local road safety. I visited the A1290 in Sunderland last year, and I saw the pedestrian cycling infrastructure that had been put in place, and that was really important because actually it's just next to the Nissan plant, and so it'll be really, really important to make sure that workers can get to and from work in a very safe fashion and are encouraged to use active transport. So I know it hasn't been easy, and obviously my personal gratitude to all of the local authorities who've played their part in taking on this responsibility. We've provided the funding, getting these roads built and improved over time, and of course, we look forward to seeing more of the results in the data in the months and years ahead. So, we think that this work will save around 1,450 people from being killed or seriously injured in the next 20 years, which I think is a very good outcome. And we've got to keep sharing the data. I think sharing data and sharing knowledge is going to become ever more important as we try and identify the reasons behind areas which suffer the greatest number of collisions. So, my thanks again to the Road Safety Foundation, and again, we will obviously work with you as we go forward. But moving on from road design and road safety measures that we can implement by changing configurations and improving cycle lanes, etc. But it's also about educating road users. From children to older drivers, motorists, pedestrians, horse riders. Enforcing the rules of the road to encourage safer driving is an absolute focus for me. I think we have allowed roads policing to be deprioritised by too much, if you ask me. And I think there's also a feeling around people who use roads that they won't get caught, and therefore they take greater risks than they should. And we've got a big focus on that coming up, because I think it's time to work with the Home Office and do something about that. I mean, if we look at vulnerable road users, it is the most shocking, I think, is the 17 to 24-year-old males, 4 times more likely to be killed or seriously injured. I've got a 20-year-old son who has a little Volkswagen Up, and I'm constantly telling him that a speed limit is a limit, not a target. It's just trying to get them to understand what safe driving looks like. So we have seen a proportion of cars speeding during the pandemic because of the quieter roads. And what we did introduce, the DFT's Think campaign, introduced a specific campaign which was focused on these young men, many of whom were not working from home. They had jobs that needed them to travel to work, and this was essential. But we needed to remind them that even if the road's more empty, they should not speed. And that campaign has gone down extremely well. We're also, as you know, working on the outcome of the consultation to ban all use of handheld mobile phones while driving. That is going through the process at the moment. We obviously received a large number of responses, and we will be able to take further steps to address that issue going forward. Again, it's a very dangerous thing to do, to text whilst you're driving. It's like driving the length of a football field with a blindfold on. So it's really not advisable. And there are a number of, not only once we managed to change the law to cover all use of mobile phones, there is a number of enforcement activities which are coming on stream around using cameras to identify people who are using their phones. And I know that Highways England in particular has been developing that technology. So I think it could be something that we can roll out more widely. The other high risk group we know is older people. And we've got to get the balance right between keeping our roads safe, but also supporting the independence and quality of life into older people. I think it's really important. So we have helped to fund 13 mobility centres to support elder drivers who may have medical conditions or disabilities, and we've provided training and education in partnership with ROSPA and with Brake to give elderly drivers more confidence to get behind the wheel safely. So alongside this campaigning work, and I was talking about policing and enforcement, so one of the things that you'll probably see coming up fairly soon, I can't say imminently because work is still ongoing, is the roads policing review. We had some very high quality responses to that, and I want to use that roads policing review as like the foundation of how we take forward our work in terms of our relationship with police forces across the country and ensuring that enforcement happens at a level that we would expect. We heard from over 4,500 police personnel. We did a survey of road safety partnerships. Also, we had we used Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, Fire and Rescue Services to provide the first thematic inspection of roads policing. And obviously that was all alongside the call for evidence. So I think, you know, we have to be quite deliberative in all of this. We have to listen really carefully. And so I look forward to working with the police and crime commissioners on this. And I think it's really important that we understand, you know, the levers that we have available and the data that we need to manage that. I mean, one of the things that I think we're able to improve in terms of data is the collision reporting and sharing system crash. Again, this helps us understand from police forces what were the circumstances of a particular incident, and it enables us to be able to target offenders and also make sure that we remove dangerous drivers from the road and identify, of course, the causes of the incident in the first place. So before I finish, I just want to talk about future-proofing road safety. So we've just had the biggest disruption to transport in anyone's lifetime, quite frankly. We do know that we've got more active travel. We are encouraging and funding interventions for cyclists and walkers. We want to maintain the number of people who have taken to their bike or are choosing to walk to work or to the shops. It's a good thing. And now we need to make sure that we ensure that those people are as safe as others when they travel. So we know that you know, we've already invested about £250 million. More further funding will be available in due course. And as we provide this funding, we have to make sure that the law keeps up to date. So the other thing that we've got coming down the track is the change to the highway code, which will be changed again. So of course you've seen the highway code change just recently for high-speed roads, including smart motorways. There will be a further change to the highway code, which will very much look at cyclists, pedestrians and horse riders. Again, we had tens of thousands of responses to the consultation. We're getting through all of that, and then we will lay further amendments to the highway code. So I started by saying that road deaths are preventable. You know, each life cut short is a tragedy, and it is a collective failure. And so all of us who are responsible and who are interested and active in road safety can do something about it. And I really do welcome insights from charities, industry bodies, academia, the police, everybody, because I don't think anybody has the single answer for how we're going to improve this. So I will be hoping to be very ambitious in the coming months ahead on road safety. And if we're not being ambitious enough, I'd like you to challenge us. I won't always agree, we won't always agree, but it is important that we get as many good ideas on the table as possible and bring it together into a sort of a refreshed and really comprehensive road safety strategy. So I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, and for that particularly helpful insight. I understand you have a bit of time to answer a few questions for us. Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Perhaps I could start by pointing out that the road investment package suggests an initial investment for the SRN would be £250 million across 900 kilometres of road, saving 1,600 lives and serious injuries over a 20-year period. With an average BCR of 2.7, which is not a bad return on investment. The report also says for the SRN, this would just be the starting point, and more would be needed to change the course of direction for Highways England towards a zero harm ambition. So my question really is the designated funds for road safety and congestion seem some way off the mark in terms of scale. So how are you going to inject more funding to ensure a sustained investment of the right order is actually achieved?
Yeah, well, thanks very much for that. I mean, I will take your report away and discuss it with Highways England and actually look at what they are doing in terms of investing the designated funds. I mean, I think it's also important to remember that that's not the only source of money for improving safety. I mean, Highways England does have a budget of £27 billion, and a lot of that is spent on maintenance, and maintenance is an important contributor to road safety. But what I will do is I did sort of, look through and look at some of the roads that you identified. I will go and, pick those up the next time I speak to Highways England, which is, I speak to them I have a formal meeting with them every 3 or 4 weeks. So I'll pick it up with them and see what assessment they have made. I think the A27 ranked fairly highly, and I can't remember which section it was. The A27 is an interesting road. We want to make a number of improvements on it, not only to relieve congestion, but also to improve safety. Sometimes it's just a question of trying to get the local stakeholders to agree, which is one of my challenges. Yeah. Everybody wants relieved congestion and improved safety, but not everybody can agree how that should happen.
Absolutely understood, Minister. That leads on actually to a related matter, but the report also reveals that a targeted and indeed very modest investment in the scale of things in 1,000 kilometres of the MRN could save 2,600 KSIs over the period. I mean, what people will be interested in is how seriously is the concept of the MRN viewed by the department, and how do you plan to ensure there's a consistent and coordinated approach to investment priorities set in for the MRN across cash strip local highway authorities who all may have different opinions?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And, because of course the major road network is different to the strategic road network. They are two different things. They serve two different purposes, and the strategic road network has, one single highways authority, as in, Highways England, and the MRN is split between the local authorities. Sometimes it's very difficult for the sort of dead hand of national government to come down and sort of say to local government, thou shalt fix that road, because the point of local government is that they will make their own priorities for road safety, and I think that's absolutely right. And remembering that the MRN was established really to identify the sorts of roads that would benefit from specific government investment, and indeed, we have done that. I mean, I don't think a week goes by when I don't invest significant money in the MRN, but I'm not sure that we'll be moving towards a coordinated safety package for the MRN, because what we do is obviously, as you know, provide funding to local highways authorities, either from their normal highways maintenance, their integrated transport block, and there's levelling up funding that they can bid for. So all sorts of different things that they can bid for in terms of funding. But it must be up to the local authority to identify those areas that they really want to spend the money on.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Minister, for those frank answers. May I now just hand over to Lord Whitty, who wants to say a few words to you?
Well, this is really just our appreciation from the Council and the trustees of the Road Safety Foundation. That you have managed to find time to address us today, and clearly have been well briefed on the report and what lies behind it. So congratulations on that. And I would also like to thank you and your predecessors and your officials and Highways England officials at the way in which they have dealt with our people and our information in a partnership which wasn't there a few years ago, to be honest. And I think that if I can just use you to pass on our appreciation on that, we will of course be coming back to you with particular demands and talking to your officials in Highways England and local authorities about particular roads and the totality of the fund and the support. And I'm sure we can have some interesting dialogues. But the will is there and the commitment is there. And if I might say so, you demonstrated this morning your own personal understanding of the way our analysis works and the nature of the problems. It would be nice if you got more response from the Treasury on occasion, and it would be nice if there was more money there, but at least we now have a common framework for deciding what the priorities are. And a lot of that is leadership from the top. So thanks very much for being here today, and please pass on our thanks to your officials in particular.
I certainly will do. Thank you all very much indeed. It was really good to speak to you.